expanding circle of culture, which is China. Before we start, let's get to know more about who is this subject and why I choose her. So, why I choose this subject? Because she was born and raised in China, and she speaks English quite well since she is still a student and currently studying in Malaysia about 2 years at Taylor's University Subang Jaya. Since China has the most English learner in the world, English language education is booming in China and make it interesting to know.
Let's start by learning a little bit more about you. So can you introduce yourself and tell us which part in China?
Okay, hello. My name is Du Yunhe. I'm from Southeast China.
Yes.
So, English is commonly categorized in cultural model of word Englishes into 3 circles, which are inner circle, outer circle, and expanded circle. In China, English functions primarily as a foreign language, not widely used for daily communication. Growing interest due to the globalization, economic development, and international communication. So, unique features in vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation will increasing influence on global English due to the China's size, economic impact. So China's unique culture influence shape on how English is learned and used. Next, moving on to the history, development, and current progress of English in China. So first thing first, English education began as a part of China's modernization effort, shift from confucian-based learning to include Western subject for international communication. And secondly, the development. English is a core subject in schools, including major exams like Cao. Recent debates question the extent of English role compared to Chinese language and culture. And currently, rapid growth as China's open up, emphasizing English for business, technology, and diplomacy. English proficiency became essential for global engagement and upward mobility. The statement given by her show that English education in China began in 1919 and has become increasingly important. Over time, English developed into a major subject, reflecting its role in helping students connect with the global community. Here is what she stated during the interview session.
My first question is, can you briefly explain what you know about the history of English came to China?
1999, we started to teach English in China, and English education developed a lot in China because people realize it's very important. So yeah, in the beginning it's that important, but gradually it begins to like the main subject, one of the main subjects in China. Yeah, kind of like this.
Alright.
Next, based on my research for power of English in China, English has become a medium of learning for the Chinese students who would like to study overseas. In the last 20 years, an increasing number of students have gone abroad to seek further education. So recently, there has been debate on reducing the emphasis on English, with some arguing for a stronger focus on Chinese language and culture, especially in light of national priorities and cultural identity. There are an estimated 400 million English language learners in China. There are hundreds of millions of people in China studying English, but less than 1% of people from Chinese mainland are conventional. So, based on her explanation, she said that English is essential today as a universal language. It serves as a bridge across cultures, allowing you to communicate easily with people from diverse backgrounds, and also important for personal and professional growth as it opens up international opportunities and connects people globally. Let's see what she had said during the interview session.
Do you think English is important to your life? And if you do, why?
Yeah, I do think English is important to my life because it's common language and general language to use nowadays. And currently, I live in other countries, so I have to use English in my life to communicate with people.
Alright. Have you ever found yourself misunderstood by people from other countries when you speak Chinese English?
Yeah, kind of. I have to think how. Okay, so Chinese. I mean, I really don't. I have no idea about Chinese English. Maybe it's about accent. If I speak in Chinese accent, I don't know. Okay, if I change, because maybe I misusing the English word. I don't understand the English word and I use wrongly in Chinese way, so they will misunderstand me.
Do you have
Probably.
any example of words or sentence?
Okay, I will tell you. Maybe sometimes my pronunciation of English word is wrong, so I always pronounce expect,
Expect.
expect, like expectation. Yeah, I always pronounce expectation like expect,
Instead of expect.
expect. Yeah, so maybe this is what
Oh.
I always make.
Last but not least, the choices of grammar in China, which based on my findings. Grammatical structures are often transferred from Chinese, and learners commonly forget article like and the misuse verb tenses. The verb tenses are not usually marked in Mandarin, so learners use verb forms incorrectly, like I go yesterday instead of I went yesterday. Yeah. Next is Mandarin Chinese has a fewer prepositions than in English. So students will often use the wrong preposition or omit them altogether. For example, they may say I leave the house instead of I live in the house. Yeah. And moreover, in Mandarin Chinese, adjective can function as a verb. So you won't say she is pretty, but she pretty. The situation is similar when we describe the position of something, like literally a Chinese person would say it on the table. So from her explanation, we can see that many English learners struggle with preposition like in and on, because this concept may be used differently in their native language, and English has specific rules like on for self-phrases and apples on the tree, and in for enclosed spaces like in the box. So the interviewee mentioned long time no see. So this phrases is grammatically unique, and it's actually borrowed from a Chinese expression, and despite its ungrammatical structure, it is widely accepted in English, like showing how languages evolve and incorporate expression from other cultures. Now let's hear what she had said during the interview session.
Are there any English grammar rules that you find particularly difficult because they don't exist in Chinese English or
Mm,
Mandarin English?
yeah, like what you said, you mentioned like in and on. People
Yeah.
always messed up about this because sometimes they say apples are in the tree instead of apples are on the tree, because for us we don't really like make differences between in and on.
Um,
But yeah, kind of like this,
uh,
yes.
I've made some research about that too.
Mm.
So this one more similar question, which is Are there any grammatical structures in Chinese English or Mandarin English that are unique or more frequently used compared to other English varieties?
Are there any English sentence like people
Any
use
grammatical?
grammatical? Okay. For example, long time no see. I think you have heard that, right?
Yes.
Actually, it's direct translate from Chinese Mandarin, like long time no see. It's from Chinese.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we are about to end. So to conclude, all I can say that I gained deeper understanding of English as a global connector and researched English unique adaptation in China. I also got investigated English usage globally, focusing on China, and also got to explore English as a lingua franca in diverse contexts. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. I'm Atika Nadira from DEC 5B. The subject that I interviewed is from the outer circles, which is India. So before we start, let me introduce our interviewee. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, myself is my Islam name is Adam, and my actual name is Arul Mani. I'm from India. I'm working in Malaysia since 2010 until now.
His name is Arul Mani Matiazakan, and his Islam name is Adam. He is 41 years old and from Tamil Nadu, which is a state from south of India. His profession is a software engineering and currently working at RHB, and he already living in Malaysia since 2010. So the reason I choose this subject because he have a 14 years working experience in Malaysia, which he already adapted with Malaysian culture. Other than that, India is a big country that have many culture with a variety of languages that make them have a different grammar for different state. Also, he have many experiences interacting with people from different languages because he have been immigrating a lot for studying and working before he came to Malaysia. Moving on to our first aspect, let's find out how English started to spread in India.
Yeah.
So for the next question, how did English started to spread in your country?
Yeah, this is a 400 years old story. So just because of Britishers it was in India,
Yeah.
it became part and parcel of Indian languages.
From his explanation, he also said that time British not only ruling one country, they also ruling other place were ruled by different king, and also they are talking with different languages. But later, British unite their country, and for communication, they use English as a base. Next, I asked him about when he started learning English. So when did you start learning English?
My schooling is also in English medium. Back in my town, we do have one or two, like few English medium matriculations. There, studying in a government school will not be that supportive. So my parents decided to put me in English medium. Although I'm in English medium, but it's been a struggle because talking Tamil at home, reading everything in English was quite challenging. But I got used to it.
But he facing a difficult time because the different language he used at schools and at home. And he also said school didn't have much in English. That time he only know how to write and read English, but having a hard time to speak in English. From my finding, many attempted to claim Hindi as the official language after independence, but there were protests from non-Hindi speaking states. Therefore, English was chosen as a compromise as an associate official language. Today, English is the only veritable way to communicate between Indian states that do not speak Hindi. This can be proven by what Mr. Adam said in this video.
Then moving forward, even now, India doesn't have a net, what do you call, a native language. Even though people say Hindi, it doesn't mean that Hindi is a national language. We have official language, which is English for all communication, and we have a regional language because you cannot put Hindi in every state because I don't speak Hindi, I don't read Hindi. Also.
Let's move on to our second aspect, which is the power of English in India. I asked Mr. Adam about how often he using English in India, and this is his response.
How often do you use English in India?
India, probably in airport, or if I go to some other state, if I cannot speak in that their language, have to talk in English. But if I go to my hometown, chances of talking in English very less. Probably if I want to talk to customer service and for any other things for clarification, probably I use there.
From his response, we can analyze that most of the time they're using English to talk to people from other states and cultures because they are using different languages and the chance to talk in English at their hometown is less. Based on interview experience studying English in India, he stated that Indian people don't speak new language properly. From his response, we can say that he tried to not using filler words, although sometimes he had a hard time finding out words which can lead to using filler words, but he overcome it by learning from experienced individuals.
What challenges have you faced in mastering English and how you overcome it?
Challenge is based on my experience is we don't speak the language properly, the other new language or foreign language we properly is we don't find proper words to phrase your words. That's where you get all your filler words like just trying to catch up the words and all, right? So this was there in the beginning stage. Eventually, when I started correcting all those things is when I joined Toastmasters. So we have our counter, you have a grammarian, so they will correct your things. Then only I started noticing, oh, these are the mistakes I'm doing it.
Next, from my finding, English language proficiency is essential for many high-paying jobs in India. Speaking English fluently is necessary for communicating with employees and clients from other nations because many international organizations have operation in India. English important in India for work use, especially for email usage and contact with clients. This can be proven by what Mr. Adam said.
How often and important English in your daily life right now?
It's very important because my email communication during calls, we don't just talk to people who are in Malaysia or in whoever it is, right? So we have people from joining from other countries. So you should have a common language, which is English. So that is also professional.
From his response, we can analyze that English is very important, especially in working sector, to communicate with clients and for documentations. Also, English is a professional language for communicating in professional sector. And he said that English already become a part of his daily life. So, let's move on to our third aspect. Indian have a different pronouns for female and male, the same as standard English. Based on my finding, Tamil language have a masculine and feminine genders, and all non-human nouns are referred in neutral gender except for animals. This can be proven by what Mr. Adam said in this video.
Tamil has a very good structured grammar. Um, um, for example, avan even means he, if, I mean, avan meaning the person there, he even means the person here, male. Aval, eval for girl.
Yeah.
Then for adu, either means is a thing. Same like English grammar, right? he, she, it, he, she, it, right? So avan, aval, adu means is gender. It doesn't have anything. You can call anything as a adu like that.
From his response, we can see that Tamil also have a similarity, like similarity grammar, like using he and she in English from standard English. Next, Tamil word structure is different from standard English word structure. Based on my finding, Tamil, the typical structure follows the subject, object, verb order, meaning the subject comes first, followed by the object, and finally the verb. This structure is crucial when crafting simple sentences in Tamil for clear communications. This can be proven from what Mr. Adam said in this video.
Okay, I can give one example is subject, I eat rice.
Okay.
It's a subject, object, verb you have, right? நான் சோறு சாப்பிடுவேன், like நான் சோறு சாப்பிடுவேன், சாப்பிட்டேன். Whereas the literal meaning is I rice eat. So
So your word order is different lah with
yes,
standard
it
English.
is. Yes, it is different.
From his response, we can say that Tamil word order and standard English order are different, which sometimes can create challenging in translations and understandings because standard English word order use subject, verb, object order, which subject come first but it be followed by verb and object, which differs from Tamil word order. For the last questions, I asked him about difficult grammatical rules that maybe don't exist in India. Let's see what Mr. Adam said about the last questions.
Doesn't exist in India. Don't know. I never thought about it, so I don't know how to answer you.
From his response, interviewee did not mention any difficulty in terms of grammar structure when conversing in English. This is because India is so familiar with English. However, he did mention that he had been misunderstood when addressing a word. For example, he mispronounced Layang, which is a place named as Sayang, which is a nickname for darling. To sum up, from my finding in interview sessions, I can include that English is very important and widely used in India to communicate and for working sector. Other than that, English acts as an intermediate language for Indian people to talk with people from different states because they have different languages. That's all from me. Let's move on to our second article. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Shafika and I'm from DC 5B. And I'm the one who will be presenting about outer circle, which is my chosen country is Philippines. So, we move on to our subject.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, I am Rain de la Cruz. I'm currently in age of 19. I study from Bulacan State University, which is located in Philippines. I teach criminal justice.
So his name is Rain de la Cruz, his age is 19 and his nationality is Filipino. His ethnicity is Tagalog and his education background is currently in college undergrad program and taking criminal in law courses. So when he started to learn English? He started to learn English through primary school. And where did he learn English? He learned English through social interaction. And he used English most frequently to his friends, colleagues, and schoolmates. So the reason of choosing this country is because English proficiency is highly regarded in the Philippines. The Philippines routinely ranks among the top Asian nations for English proficiency and according to the EF English Proficiency Index. So many Filipinos are bilingual or even multilingual and English is also the nation's official language.
Feel comfortable speaking in English?
Yeah, every time when I speak English within my fellow colleges, I do feel comfortable doing so.
So first thing first is reaction towards the expanding power of English in the Philippines. Based on our research, The use of English in daily conversation is widespread in professional and social settings. For example, in Manila, Cebu, and Davao. And also, the next one is English is a preferred language in digital communication testing nowadays, which is, for an example, email and social media, and also testing. And the last one is English is often the default language for discussing complex topics such as business, politics, and science.
The next one is, does your environment allow you to speak English well at your places?
Sometimes no, because some of my fellow Filipinos does speak Tagalog, so I cannot speak English. I can only speak English with other fellow English speakers whenever I do so.
So, the next one is history, development, and current progress of English in Philippines. English continues to be the main language of teaching in research and higher education, supporting both professional and academic growth. English is the language of many Philippine colleagues, curricula, and language of many foreign partnerships.
So the next one is, do you think Tagalog affect the way you speak?
The next one, which is analysis grammar. So, present perfect versus simple past, and the simple past is often used where standard English would prefer the present perfect. For an example, I already ate instead of I have already eaten. And the next one is countable versus uncountable nouns. So mass nouns, which is uncountable nouns, may be pluralized. For an example, furnitures and equipments instead of furniture and equipment. The error in Tagalog, subject-verb agreement in Philippines often do not change form based on the subject. Example, the group are going instead of the group is going.
So the next one is it true that nowadays English usage in Philippines have been developed and getting used it frequently in daily life?
Oh yeah, it has been a lot for like a few years now. Students does use English, especially on elementary. They tend to speak English. But by reaching to high school to college, it is really part of our education program that we are allowed to speak English by that form.
Are there any English grammar rules that you find particularly difficult because they don't exist in Philippines?
Well, in particular with this case, I find some deep English very hard to speak or pronounce in the way that I can use within my sentences when I speak.
So the last one is personal reflection and summary. So what I get after I'm doing this interview session with the foreigner, first thing first, I want to highlight that it's very hard to find the subject, and I already take it around 2 to 3%, and yeah, it's hard to find the true one, the right one. And for the summary is I got to find new information and learn more about variety of English, and also knowing that English is worldwide nowadays. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Alida Sofia and I am from the EC5B. In today's video, me and my group mates Amira, Atika, and Ain will be presenting about our findings about the varieties of English in the outer circle and expanding circle based on Decatur's 3-circle model. We will be looking at 4 countries in which 2 of them come from the outer circle and 2 other countries from the expanding circle. The following countries are the Philippines, India, Uzbekistan, and China. In this video, we will understand the usage of the English language, compare and contrast the grammar features, and see the reaction of our interviewees in the expansion of the English language in their countries. For this project, we were required to interview 4 lovely individuals from their respective countries and see whether or not the results contradict or align with our research. Without further ado, let's start with the first country. So, without further ado, let's start with the first country, Uzbekistan. It is a country within the Central Asia region that is among the expanding circle of the Kachru three-circle model. Uzbek is the first language and Russia is their second language. So, why Uzbekistan? Firstly, Uzbekistan has an interesting history background that should be known to people as it is actually very closely related to Russia and Turkey. Secondly, Uzbekistan's diverse population, including the urban and rural areas. We wanted to know the differences between these two communities and how different they learn English. Next is to understand the differences between Uzbekistan grammar and also the standard English grammar. And lastly is to identify the reason behind why Uzbekistan is one of the countries to rank lower in the English proficiency in the world ranking. Let's start with our interviewee introduction.
Hi, I'm Dilbab. I study at Westminster University in Tashkent, majoring in economic with finance. This is my last year, and I'm 20 years old.
Her name is Dilba Mizarustamova. She is 20 years old female. She is a local that is studying in an international university in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. So, why did I choose this subject? She is born and raised in Uzbekistan and currently in the final year of her degree. She is being taught fully in English syllabus in her university. So, we believe that she has the ability to converse in English and knows the differences between the standard English and the Uzbek language. We also believe that she has the information that we needed. And during the interview, I asked Dilba about what is her reaction towards the expansion of English language in her country. So, here is what she had to say.
For sure, it's a good thing. I can say even great because it opened a lot of opportunities for economic growth, for social life, educational improvement for our universities, for boost in tourism sector as well. It helps to make connection with companies abroad, make communications, interactions, and it even open opportunities for young, middle, even older generations.
From her explanation, English came after the independence in 1991. Before, Uzbekistan during the Soviet Union mainly used Russian and German as their main languages, until English became valuable as Uzbekistan started to participate in the global trading and diplomacy. Other than that, international programs allow English to become more accessible among the Uzbekistan people. For the development of the English language, I asked Liba whether she thinks that people are speaking English more nowadays than in the past. Let's hear what she had to say. I think that nowadays people are speaking English more in the past.
For me, yes, because I live in central Tashkent. I see a lot, but I heard from my friends from regions from other regions, they don't use really English, but in Tashkent they use in metros. I heard, and probably in different kind of events. And Uzbekistan is holding so many international sport events, conferences, some kind of a lot. Was back then in 2011 they don't teach English. They only teach Uzbek and Russian partially, not fluent, because the teachers were not good, the education was bad. Now, in 5 years, they are improving it. I see a lot of improvement.
From her response, we can say that in the past, people are not exposed to the English language due to not being taught early in schools, because back then they mainly uses Uzbek language and Russian. And on top of that, English exposure starts at the age of 10th grade. Dilba stated that, from her own observations, since 5 years ago, English usage is expanding. The gradual increase in the English language is due to the government starting to pay more attention to it. Next, I asked Dilba about the current state of power of English in Uzbekistan. Let's hear what she had to say.
Very few in both government and daily communication. In the government sector, maybe in some part where if there is workers, employers from abroad or special organizations where if they work with companies from other countries, they may speak English, but usually they speak Uzbek and Russian. And in universities, in international universities, we speak in English during classes, during uh, maybe with friends, but not much. And some special international companies, like we have a lot recently. There's a lot of companies that are coming to Uzbekistan, and in that companies they speak English. The workers speak English. They take interviews. They take employees in English, and in some international conference, they do speak English. I recently volunteered at art, economical art conference, and there were a lot of artists from different countries, and we do speak English there.
Does Uzbekistan recognize English as one of the main languages alongside Uzbek language?
Not yet. Still, Russian is our second language, but a gradual increase in English, the attention that government give to English, maybe maybe they will make English as a second language because they appreciate more English because it gives more opportunity in every sector rather than Russian. So they might give, but Uzbek still be a first language. But English will be in second language in maybe 5 or 10 years.
Based on her response, in the past, English was not widely spoken, compared to nowadays when English is seen as valuable as it opens up a lot of work and networking opportunities among Uzbeks compared to the Russian language. English is important as it is used for job interviews and any international events settings. She also stated that towards 5 to 10 years from now, English will be the second language of the country based on what is happening right now. Next, I asked her about if the sentence structure in her mother tongue different than the standard English. Let's hear what she had to say. The sentence structure in your mother tongue, which is Uzbek language, is it different than the standard English as English use SVO, like subject, verb, and object? Is it different from Uzbek?
Yeah, it's differ a bit. We mainly formally use subject plus object plus verb, so verb at the end. But informally and during daily conversation, we can use subject plus verb plus object or subject plus object plus verb. It doesn't matter because the meaning is still the same. And it's a rich language. We can use however that we want.
Based on her response, she stated that grammar uses SOV, which is the subject plus object plus verb. Well, this is different from the English grammar, which uses SVO, which is the subject plus verb plus object. Other than that, based on my findings, English sentences are formed as subject plus predicate. This is different from the Uzbekistan grammar, which is the predicate is placed at the very end of a sentence. This is the example of Uzbek grammar, which is it's so flexible as these are the different ways to organize a sentence to emphasize different subjects, yet even though they are being organized differently, yet they still can be understood by natives. On top of that, gender-specific pronouns like he and she does not exist in Uzbek grammar. They use u to address both female and male in Uzbekistan language. This is very different from the English language. Well, I asked Silba if she had find any English grammar rules that is difficult because they don't exist in Uzbek language. Well, she clarified that it is hard for her to differentiate between she and he when she is addressing people in English. From my knowledge, in Uzbek grammar, there is no gender pronouns. So do you find it difficult, especially when you are addressing gender when using standard English?
In other grammar, we have a lot of options, but in this particular referring to female male, we use just one pronoun. So
when you use only one pronouns for both of the gender, so when you speak in English, you don't find it difficult to address maybe he or she.
I understand it wrongly. Yeah, I sometimes I find it so difficult when I start learning English. I refer to male as she, for female as he, and it happens. It happens even now.
You get very like mixed up for both of the.
Yeah, because I know five language. I add Turkish as well. I'm learning Russian, and five language is spinning in my head, and it's difficult.
I see.
In conclusion, English language is not common in Uzbekistan. People are used to Uzbek and Russian language more. However, English is growing rapidly as people are starting to appreciate the importance of the language towards the opportunities it offers. That's all from me.
Oke teman-teman, terima kasih sudah menonton videonya.